Hello, and welcome back to our Gone Solo Troika campaign. Hope you've been enjoying it so far. I have. It's been a lot of fun. So, a couple of things before we move forward. This solar system is something I'm building as we go. You know, we are building the plane as we're flying it. So, the way I think about it is evolving. So, I've just made a couple of changes to the way that the location table works. Originally, I had like the spheres and then like the locations within the spheres all there, but that didn't really make sense. So I sort of am now tracking that in a different way, where this is only going to track the spheres, and then I'm using little index cards to track different places that we go within the spheres. So for example, here's the card for Madwell, which we explored pretty deeply in the last two episodes. So Troika is not only the mega city capital, but it's also the name of the sphere. Just changing the way I think about that. Nothing that you really need to know, just letting you in on my process. And then the other thing is I'm going to try to be a little bit more procedural with the way that the scene's set up. I've been kind of loose in the last couple episodes, and that's fine, but I really want to be a little bit more specific, and I am actually tracking scenes now. I think that'll just be help as we move forward, as things get more and more complicated. That's where we're at. So, in the last episode, Magnaza and Pointage had stolen the explosive suit, and they took it back to the inn, where we learned that Magnaza's dream is actually to be a dancer, and this is her last job, and if she can do this, she's out, and she's going to go do that. And we also learned that Pointage feels that they are very different than other dwarves. They have this drive to destroy rather than create like other dwarves. So, and then in the middle of the night, Pointage tried to steal the suit for themselves, but Magnaza didn't let that happen, which caused a little bit of tension, but they were able to get it back. Going through the city full of burglars, they got it back to Myconet, and they got paid, and so they went their separate ways because there wasn't really anything to keep them together. But King Olympus suspected that Myconet had something to do with his missing suit and sent a sympathy serpent after Magnaza. He was able to track her magically because of the bolts that she had left, the crossbow bolts. But she slayed the serpent at the docks as he was trying to leave to go to the wherever the place is that she believes that she can become a dancer. And that's where we're at. So here we go. We're going to jump in to this next episode. Get ready. So as usual, I have neglected to name an important thing. So we need a name for this sphere that Magnaza is trying to get to, where there's some sort of dance academy or something. A queen and a shadow. So we'll just call it Queen's Shadow. That's like a cool, kind of mysterious name. So Magnaza is trying to get to Queen's Shadow, and in the previous episode, she learned that there was a golden sail barge leaving the next day. So that's what we're setting up. So what happens to complicate or come to bear on that scene? 4. Okay, so there's a local event or an environmental issue that's going on. Let's get a story cube, see what that is. It's a burglar. Just keep getting burglars all day. So after spending a night at the nearby inn and her fight with the sympathy serpent, Magnaza, a little shaken, a little disturbed, but ready to just be done with this part of her life, ready to be done being a wizard hunter. She goes to the docks. She meets with the captain that she had made contact with yesterday, who was heading to Queen's Shadow. And they say, all right, well, if you please, we'll go ahead and take your payment. And Magnaza reaches into the big sack of money that she had gotten from Myconet, and she finds it empty. She's been burgled. So she looks to the captain and says, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happened. Let me, but please don't leave. Let me go see if I can track down this money, and I'll be right back. And the captain says, I'm sorry, but we need to head out. You don't have a lot of time. We need to go. So on a scale of like 1 to 6, how much time does she have to track down this money? 3. Okay, so she's got a little bit of time, but not a lot. So we'll say maybe she's got, half a day that they're gonna leave. So the captain says, well, we'll certainly take your time, but we're leaving at noon today, at midday, and if you're not on this ship, we have to leave without you. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Okay, so she's got a couple of things that she needs to figure out. We need to know when she got burgled and where, at what point did she not have the money. We know that she got the money at Magnaza's palace, so it's not going to be a burglar from Madwell unless a burglar from Madwell followed them, which is a possibility. And then she's going to need to be able to track down this burglar. So she does have tracking. Let's see if she can. Well, we need to know, what was the last time that she remembers seeing this money? Was it this morning or was it yesterday? So we'll say yes for this morning. So was it this morning that she has seen it? No, but so she did not remember seeing it this morning. So the last time she saw it was yesterday, but it was at the very, very end of the day. Okay. So it must have been. So she gets ready for bed. She's looking through all these things. She goes, counts the money. She goes to sleep. And now next morning, she's at the docks and she doesn't have the money, which means that someone would have had to steal it in the night. Okay. So she goes back to the inn and she's going to do, she's able to get back into her room and she's going to do a tracking roll to see if she can find any clues or track down where this burglar might have gone. Okay, so she has to roll under 7. And she rolls double 6s, so that is always a failure. So she scours her room. She's looking under everything. She's looking under the bed. She's looking in the drawers. Nothing. She can't find any clue, any evidence as to where her money might have gone. So she starts to think, who would have known that she has that money? Well, the only other person that she's been in contact with is Pointage, and she knows that Pointage already tried to steal the explosive suit from them when they were working together. So that would be her first suspicion. So she needs to track down Pointage. So the question is, where has Pointage gone, and is Magnaza able to track him down? So before they parted ways, did Pointage say anything or give any indication as to where he was going? Yes, but he gave a name, but Magnaza had never heard of that place. So what was the name of the place? All right, we've got a roller skate and we've got a submarine. We'll call it Scamarine. So Magnaza doesn't know what Scamarine is. She doesn't know if it's a different sphere. She doesn't know if it's a different place in Troika. She doesn't know anything about Scamarine. So she's going to try to track down Pointage before he leaves Troika. So she asks around, and asks if anybody knows or has seen where Pointage was headed. Yes, someone did see where Pointage was headed, but why should they tell her? So let's roll on an NPC chart to see who it was. Okay, 3, 2, 1. A quixotic. 1, 2, 5. Champion. Okay. So someone who believes themselves to be on a quest, some sort of fighter champion. Oh, funny. Okay. She's been scouring the streets and asking, has anyone seen a dwarf of this description? A dwarf of this description? No. And finally, she comes up against someone they're wearing the big armor, and she's standing around looking very, proud and noble, and with a distant gleam in the eye. And then she goes up, and Magnaza asks, have you seen a dwarf of this description? And the champion says, why, yes, I have, not too long ago. But it is not my policy to give out information to betray the privacy and confidence of the rabble. Why should I tell you what I know? And Magnaza says, I think he might have stolen a lot of money from me. And the champion says, a thief? Huh! I will not stand thieves and brigands. We must track this person down. But before we do that, I must test your character. You must come with me to do part of my quest, my noble quest. And Magnaza says, really, I don't have time for this. I've only got a couple hours before my ship leaves. I mean, at this point, it's she's not leaving today. It's just, she's taken too much time. It's just not happening. And so she says, okay, well, all right, what is this quest that you're on that I can assist you with? And so prove my character. Roll in our story cubes. A bee and a snowflake. So I think that means there's some sort of creature, some sort of insectoid frost creature, a frost bug that is tormenting some village, and this champion has come to Troika to recruit helpers for this quest and to go slay this frost bee. So the champion explains this. Where I am from, a horrible beast threatens the peasants and the people. It is the horrible frost bug, and I have come to the great and exciting city of Troika to recruit adventurers to go back and slay it. And Magnaza kind of rolls her eyes. This is really not the kind of thing that she's interested in. She was so close. She was so close to finally achieving her dream, and now everything's just slipping away, getting further and further, and now she's on this other quest. But she needs to know where Pointage has gone, and this champion is the only one who knows. So she says, all right, well, I've been a wizard hunter for many years. I have a very specific set of skills. So I will help you if you will tell me where this dwarf might have gone. And then she also thinks, well, and is there any possibility of treasure or gold involved? Is there a possibility of treasure or gold involved? Yes. Yes, the Frostbee's lair is full of treasure that it has accumulated and frozen into its terrible nest. If we were to slay it, the treasure could be yours. I, of course, am a champion, a noble champion, and I have no need of such treasure, but if that is of interest to you, then by all means, you can come along. And so Magnaza says, well, it seems like this could kind of go, a couple different ways. Even if she's not able to get the treasure, she'll get a lead on pointage. So, seems like this might be the thing to do. All right, so what is the name of this champion? All right, so we've got a TP and a gem. So we'll call him T-Gem. T-Gem, the quixotic champion. And we've got this thread, Slay the Frost Bee. All right, and we'll call that the end of that scene. All right, so they need to head out and get to this place. So it seems like, based on the way that T-Gem was talking, that this is still on the sphere of Troika, but on a village sort of outskirts, another place like Madwell. And we're assuming it's not Madwell because we would have been made aware of that. So we know it's a new place that we haven't been. So let's roll to see about how far away is this village. How far has T-Gem traveled? It's nearby. Okay, so another similarly distant place to Madwell. We'll say it's on the other side, and I'll update our little map here. A little village, and then we need a name for this village. We've got Godzilla and Rain, so we'll call it God's Rain. And how does one get to God's Rain? We know that they were able to take a shout pod to Madwell. How do you get to God's Rain? Tree. Okay. So what that means to me is outside of Troika, as soon as you get outside of the city limits, there in the distance there's a large tree, and maybe God's Rain is up in the tree. Maybe there's just this massive tree, and they have to climb all the way up, and the village and the Frostbee and the whole area is up in the tree. That's cool. Let's do that. Just going to draw a little tree here on the map. Okay, so we know it's nearby. So, probably a day's journey or so. So that's going to be the next scene. So they're going to head out. Magnaza and T-Gem are going to head back to God's Rain. And that's going to be our setup for our scene. So let's see what happens to impact that on our event table. 6, point of interest. We're going to roll on our point of interest. So that's D6, 6, 16, a smithy, or a workshop. So maybe there's something on the way. And what do they make at this workshop? Okay. It says it's a no humans. So what does that mean? Well, that would be like weapons, right? This is like a blacksmith, someone who makes weapons. So they head out the next morning, and which means Magnaza is able to rest. So let's give her another rest, please. She's still down on her stamina. So she gets another rest. She's able to heal 5, and she's back up to full health. We want to make sure we take care of our poor player characters. We don't want to treat them too badly. So they head out. They leave the large gate outside the sprawling metropolis that is Troika. And outside the gate, there are still houses and shacks and shops that become increasingly more distant and spread apart as they head down the road. And then they become, fields and where crops are growing, and ranches where strange animals are housed. And they go out and out and out. And in the distance, they see this massive tree start to loom up over the horizon. And Tijum says, That is my home. I've sworn to protect the great tree of God's reign. Oh, how noble, how grand. I am filled with the tears of a hero now that I have my companion, and we will slay this beast. Okay. Like, this might be this guy's first quest. This is a little bit old hat for her. She's done a lot of, wizard hunting and quest doing in her day. This, she doesn't quite have the same enthusiasm. And then on their way, about the time that it's time to make a stop, they see a little shack, and things are spread out, and but they hear this clanging coming in from the shack, and so they decide to stop in. And Tijum says, yes, let us visit this blacksmith and see if we can procure fine weapons for which to slay the beast. Magnaza kind of looks and says, you don't have weapons already? But she doesn't say that. She just thinks that. She's already got her weapons. So they stop in. Tell us about this blacksmith. We'll just roll on the mean, because we already know that they are a blacksmith. All right, 1, 4, 2. They're defensive. They stop in, and there's, weapons of various makes and sizes all hanging up on the walls, and the blacksmith is clang, 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 working on something at the forge on the anvil. I don't know. I'm not a blacksmith. I'm just throwing words out. Anyway, they're working, hammering. Tijum kind of looks around and says, I don't know if this is exactly what we're looking for. And the blacksmith says, well, if you don't like it, then you could just leave. If you don't like the stuff that I make, then you could just get out of here. Feeling very defensive about their work. Oh, fine, blacksmith, noble layperson. Can you craft me a fine weapon for which to slay my quest? And the blacksmith says, well, of course I can. Why wouldn't it be fine? It would be great. I could do a great weapon. I could do a good weapon. You just watch. I'm going to make something great. And you pay me good gold because I deserve it. All right. So, what is the weapon that the blacksmith is able to forge? 23, a longsword. Oh, the blacksmith, she finishes hammering. Ding, 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 ding. And presents the longsword to Tijum. Says, here, is this good enough for you? Tijum inspects the sword and says, yes, indeed, thank you. This will be the weapon that slays the horrible frost bee of God's reign. Thank you, noble peasant. You have played a great part in this quest. Said, yeah, of course, it made a great weapon. Of course it can slay a beast. So, you got money? I'm a little scared to ask the Oracle, but is Tijum able to pay for this sword? No! Oh, this is the most unprepared adventure. Okay, so, no, I was hoping you could bestow it upon me as a great gift. And in doing so, once I am able to slay the frost beast, I shall return with the great treasure that it hoards in its frozen pit of despair. Does the blacksmith agree to this? I don't think so. she needs to get paid. No. She takes it back. If you can't pay, I'm not going to give you this sword. I made it. Well, it looks like we're going to need some money. Magnaza just looks over and she's just like, what have I gotten myself into? Oh, man. She did not know she was signing up for this. All right. Well, so that's the question. Are they going to keep going, or are they going to do they have to make money somehow so they can buy this sword? I mean, Magnaza, I don't know. Is she having second thoughts? Is she like, this is too much? Just tell me where pointage is. But then the Frostbee does have this treasure, so, she might have to do most of the work, but she's not going to go into this fight with this beast with an unarmed companion. So they're going to have to figure out some way to make some money. All right, so we're gonna stop that scene. We're going to add some threads. We need a name for this blacksmith. I just rolled this circus tent. I think we'll just call her Circa. Circa, the defensive blacksmith. And we have this new thread by Circa's longsword. All right. We just get further and further away. But Magnaza's here. She doesn't have a lot of options. She doesn't have any money. Now, before we can even get to God's Reign, we need to make some money. So the scene setup is they're going to be looking for some way to get some money so that Tijum can buy this sword. All right. So that's the setup. What comes to bear on that scene? 2, we're going to roll on the NPC table. All right. So 22 would be one of our blank spots, which means we can either choose or we can get a new NPC. Let's get a new NPC. We've got 252, a nauseated. 242, orc. I'm not sure what orcs look like in Troika. Let's check that real quick. The classical colleges of magic consider the orc to be an educational hazard. All young wizards will have seen posters in the common room warning of the dangers of unprotected sorcery. Remember your wards. 1 in 8 sorcerers know someone who has been affected by orcs, and so on. As for the orcs themselves, well, who can blame them for their attitude? Being summoned across the cosmos by adolescent wizards is a distressing situation in which to find oneself. Okay, so all we know about orcs from here is that they get summoned. So perhaps that happened in the distant past, and this orc has made this life out here in this farming community. But at any rate, right now they're feeling nauseated. Magnaza and Tijum leave the blacksmith shop, and they're looking around, and Magnaza says, all right, do you have any bright ideas of how we're going to get some money so you can, arm yourself to slay this beast? And Tijum said, never fear. Something will come. The hands of fate move to guide me to my destiny. Well, they wander around, down the country roads for a while, just kind of being open to whatever happens. And they are passing a little hut, a little mud hut. And they hear some kind of groaning from inside. Ooh, what is this? An opportunity! And they go and look, and inside they can see an orc humanoid, beastie kind of creature. So the orc goes, oh, and Tijum strides up to the hut and says, "Hello, citizen. Is there anything that I can assist you with?" And the orc says, "Oh, go away. I just feel so sick. Please, go away." "Sick, you say? Well, perhaps I could find a cure for your ailment. Perhaps I could find a cure for your ailment, and then you would pay me in gold. What do you say to that?" Or, "Please, just go away." "Well, what do you think? If I can cure you, will you compensate me fairly?" "Sure, just leave." "Aha! Now we've got our quest," says Tijum to Magnaza. "We can fix the ailment of this orc peasant here, and he will compensate us." All right. Well, so Tijum, do you know anything about that? Do you know anything about medicine? No, but absolutely not. "No, I have never studied it. In fact, I do not even believe in medicine or herbology. I avoid the whole thing. That's for other people who aren't fit and strong like me. So perhaps you can come up with something. Yes, why don't you go and figure that out?" Okay, so here we go. We've got the let's give the orc a name. Shake. We rolled handshake, so we'll call him Shake, the nauseated orc. And we've got a new thread. Cure Shake's ailment. Wow, we are just like step by step by step. Magnaza doesn't have anything that would particularly help in the situation. So we're just going to do like a basic roll under skill. If she can roll under 5, she can find something that helps. Okay, 10, no. So she goes around. She doesn't find anything. They're looking at plants, but she can't really tell one from another. She's on this thing. She's got to figure something out. So she does have disguise. Okay, we're going to try this. I'm going to try a little bit of a placebo effect kind of situation. Magnaza is going to try to disguise herself as a healer. Some sort of cleric or magic user, or whatever the equivalent of a country doctor is in this scenario. And she's going to try to trick the orc into feeling better. She's able to make herself look different. And not that the orc even really saw her before, but she's going to transform herself to look like a wandering healer who happens to have stumbled by. She goes to Tijum and says, "All right, you pretend that you found me and you've brought me to the orc, and we'll try see if this works." Deception! A grand strategy employed by all heroes in fighting ailments and evil. Very good. So Tijum goes back up to the hut. He says, "Hello, peasant. I have found a wandering healer who is going to try to cure your ailment." Okay. So, does Magnaza's disguise work? Is the orc convinced that this is actually a wandering healer? We had to roll under 7 and we rolled a 5, so yes. And the orc turns and says, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, healer, do your work. Cure me of my ailment." So, Magnaza, has gotten some reeds and like some shakers and is, doing and saying, "Oh, I cast out the demons of sickness that have plagued thee. And Oh, and she does a little dance to go with it, right? Because we know she loves to dance, so she's got like this healing dance that, you know, she's hopping around and she's shaking and she's getting really into it. And TJ looks at her, oh, it's like genuinely impressed. So, wow, oh my goodness. All right, great. So she's convinced the orc, and she's done this thing. The question is, does it work? You know, we're just have to roll on the oracle. You know, does this placebo effect work on the orc? Yes. Oh, good. Okay. So after a little bit of this, the orc kind of comes around and says, "Oh my, I'm feeling so much better. Thank you, kind stranger, and thank you, healer. I'm feeling vim and vigorous again. Oh my goodness, yes, here is the gold that I promised you. Thank you. Great." This is so funny. All right, so we've cured Shake's ailment. All right, so that quest is done. All right, and so we're going to go back, and so they take the money, and they go back to Circa's the blacksmithery, and says, "Here you are, citizen. The money for the longsword." Very good. And Circa counts the money. Says, "All right, well, good. And you take that sword. It's great. I promise. It's a great sword, long sword. It'll do you great. I'm really proud of my work." All right, and then we've solved that thread too. Great. So we're all set up. T-Jim takes a sword and says, "Yes, we are ready to go and slay the frost bee." And Magnaza kind of says to herself, it's like, well, we got this far, so, but she's got a sinking feeling that the rest of the quest is going to be as complicated as this first part. So, with that, I think we will call it there for today. That was fun. Thanks so much for coming along. And man, that was fun. So stick around and we'll see what crazy nonsense they get up to next time. Come back, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. You are awesome.